Okay, so what kind of influences of cuisine did you have growing up?
I would say that most of our meals were informal, home style, some version or another of foods that came from, dishes that came from Japan.
Okay.
But I think they were heavily inflected by, uh, put another way, heavily seasoned by what was available in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the case wherever we go, whether it's here in the Northwest or there in Hawaii. And by this I mean we had what seemed to be an abundance of seafood. Actually, seafood was fairly scarce in Hawaii, but we didn't know it because that's what we had. The sea life that we have there is kind of already limited and sort of refined and dear and precious like that because it is limited. So part of my father's thinking it was really tasty was the effort it took to get that food.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of our diet.
Did you or do you eat like native Hawaiian food?
My mother, she picked up the techniques for making lau lau, which is taro leaf wrapped around pork and black cod, salted black cod.
Yum.
Yeah, and then all of that is wrapped in what's called a tea leaf, not tea like you drink, but it's a broad green leaf that's used as a food wrap. It's also used for a lot of other things, decorative. It's actually kind of a sacred plant.
Okay.
But all the better, it kind of blesses the food and all of that. But that bundle then is steamed. Lau lau itself, as we have it today, when it makes use of salted black cod, that black cod did not come from Hawaii originally. It was salted because it was slightly preserved to make the journey from here to Hawaii, from the Northwest to Hawaii. Salt salmon, same thing. So the salt salmon in the 19th century began to be used for mixing with tomatoes and onions, and this is the dish known as nomi salmon. And people in Hawaii generally think this is Hawaiian food.
Okay.
But my point is that, all of these are socially constructed,
Right.
not only historically constructed.
Right.
In history, they were made as things became available. Well, we know that this food came from someplace else anyway, you see.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
if you change it,
That's
then
just
that's part of
it.
the change. Whatever is of Hawaii is Hawaii. So whatever innovation is part of Hawaii. It's part of Hawaii's culture. Okay, so that's one of the principles we have. As a matter of fact, if you go to your Japanese Canadian literature, the greatest work still is Joe Kogawa's novel Obasan.
Yeah.
And in it, Naomi, the first person narrator, right? She says, when I was really young, 5 years old, my mother would give me warm Canadian milk and tell me the story of Momotaro, right? To put me to bed.
Yeah.
Naomi says, but that's funny, Canadian milk and Japanese story, that common, the whole dual identity kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And Aunt Emily jumps in and she says, no, Momotaro is a Canadian story. And Naomi says, what? What do you mean? No, Momotaro is a Canadian story because your mother being Canadian told a story. You being a Canadian heard the story. Whatever a Canadian does is Canadian. Momotaro is a Canadian story. See? So that's what we're doing in our class.
Right.
From Liliuokalani on, the mele, everything.
Right.
It's this. It's all part of Hawaii. And then the question comes in that you asked about the lala. Are there people who say, no, that's not Hawaii?
Right.
Yeah,
Authentic and not authentic.
That's right. That happens. Then the whole question of authenticity comes in. From the point of view of Aunt Emily saying, whatever a Canadian does is Canadian. There is no such thing as authenticity in a way.
Okay.
It's all historically changing. But something like lau lau, lomi salmon, these things we know, the fish didn't come. It's not native to Hawaii.
My other question about cooking is when you're cooking, or when you're eating food that your family makes you, do you see yourself eating Hawaiian food? Do you cook Hawaiian food, American food, Japanese food, or it's all like you don't?
I think we think. I think that. Yeah. I think of what it is. That we're eating
as separate.
Yeah.
Those are three
and
separate
we talk
categories.
that way, in our household.
Yeah.
ask my wife, what do you want for dinner? Well, let's see what we have in the fridge. We have some beef and we have some chicken wings. Okay, tonight we'll have chicken wings. Then I think about, okay, I'd like to fry them. But which way will I fry them? Just like southern fried chicken kind of fry? Or will it be like mochiko chicken, that is, with a rice flour kind of chicken, and maybe with some sort of teriyaki sauce, Or, you see, so these thoughts are always there to consider.
So, but then if we go back to the previous argument of then, but because you're making it as a Hawaiian Japanese person, no matter what you make, won't that, and you're making it in America, wouldn't that make it American food?
Yeah.
So
it's all American food.
It's all American food because you're American making it in America?
Right.
Is that you would...
Right. Okay. If you're talking about Japanese food now in Hawaii when we were growing up, my sister and I get a kick about talking about this. In fact, I got a email message from her I haven't read yet. She lives in France.
Okay.
All right. She's made her whole career and her adult life in France.
Wow.
She's a scientist.
Okay.
Retired now. And the subject line on my inbox there says salted duck eggs. Okay? Question mark. I know she's going to ask me for a recipe for salted duck eggs. Why? Because out in the country where she has a country farmhouse retreat of hers, somebody must have given her duck eggs. So she wants to do this from our childhood.
But salted duck eggs, so if your grandparents made salted duck egg, they made like Cantonese style food as well?
Yeah.
They knew that? How? Just because
they learned from
the neighbors?
Yeah, the neighbors.
That's so neat!
Yeah.
So they could make native Hawaiian food like lau, Japanese food, Cantonese food. Man, Hawaii seems like a really diverse place.
So even the Issei had neighbors and friends who were of different races, different ethnicities.
And so that would change what you would eat growing up.
Yes.
Yeah. So is that something that's special to Hawaii, do you think?
That
the diversity in food?
There's been a lot made out of it. Yeah, a lot made out of it. And the idea goes like this. When the workers on the sugar plantations came together for lunch, the lunch break, they came from China, Korea, Japan, Philippines. There might be some Hawaiians in there. For the laboring class now, so there are practically no white people out in the fields like that. They would share their lunches. Although I think this is romanticized. I don't think it happened as freely as that. People just ate their own lunches. Okay, but then the next generation, for the food trucks, which we call lunch wagons in Hawaii, they would be serving, curry rice, beef curry on rice. They would be serving beef stew. They would be serving teriyaki beef. They would be, and all varieties of stuff, chow mein, and then the drive-ins would do the same thing. They have all of this stuff, and then if you really wanted to go all out, then you order the mixed plate, which is a little bit of everything. It's a combo,
right? Mishmash,
Yeah.
That's so funny. I think
But the romanticized idea is because the laborers were of different races and ethnicities got together. Well, this includes Portuguese. This also includes Puerto Ricans. Yeah, but let me tell you a little bit about the Northwest. You see, for the Issei, if you think about it, how terrific it was for them here. Because they themselves started the oyster industry. They had salmon. Abundant salmon. They had salmon eggs, right? Ikura.
My mom bought them from native people when she first came. Yeah.
Your mother is from Japan, right?
Yeah.
So right?
And they were cheap.
And matsutake.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Drive them crazy.
Yeah. It's so cheap.
You can't even get this in Japan, right?
That's true.
It felt like a terribly, terribly congenial place when it came to the natural setting.